Well, hello, puppies. Feel like it's been a while. I've made a couple of live streams over on Twitch. The quality wasn't all that. Let me see. Need to zoom out a little bit. Whoop, wrong button. There we go. Whoop, where do I want to be? Sit it back a little bit. Don't wanna. Anyways, so because of time constraints, I thought maybe I would go to doing some live streams, because then I wouldn't have to worry about uploading the video, editing it, and then doing, an audio overdub, where I talk to all 6 of you that watch my videos. Thank you very much. But yeah, I just don't have the right streaming equipment. And obviously there's a learning curve there too. I did get a utility for live streaming that I can use for both YouTube and Twitch. But yeah, the camera I got a really nice Samsung right there, and I've got another really nice photo camera, but neither one of them are conducive to live streaming. Knowing what I know now, if I was to go back in time, I would buy a completely different camera. And it wasn't that I didn't do research, because I did research, but I just don't think I was asking the right questions, but now I kind of know. So, there's that. But yeah, so, gonna hop into making a video. And right now, because I don't really have a way to sync up 2 cameras, the only camera I can actually stream with is my webcam. And it's really poor quality video. It's not as nice as this or the other camera I have, the other Canon I have that'll both do videos, but I can't get either one of them to live stream. I can get one to go live on my phone, and there's a utility there, and I can zoom in and out and get a really nice picture, but I can't get that to interface with Twitch or YouTube. So, well, since I didn't introduce myself, if you're new and watching this video and this is the first one of my videos you come across, I'm Christian. I'm the artist behind Barking Dog Studio, and I do this. I don't paint. I paint miniatures for gaming, but I don't paint for competitions or necessarily big displays. I paint for miniatures that are meant to get on the table and pushed around and handled and played with. I mean, if you're going to spend that much time with your toys, you might as well play with them, right? That's my attitude. Get those figures on the table and start killing some characters. Or if you're a character, start killing some bad guys, right? So, again, I'm Christian, Barking Dog Studio. If you ever hear dogs barking in the background, you'll understand that's where I came up with the name. We have 2 dogs, and then we have neighbors that have dogs, and they all get to talking through the fence at each other. So, without any more rambling for me, I'm going to go camera down to the mat and show you what I'm working on currently. Maybe even work on him a little bit for this video. And there's not going to be any editing or overdubbing, so there may be kids talking in the background. There may be dogs and washing machines and fans and what have you. And there's a bit of my painting rack. There's a little more up top, but we can get into that some other video. Down, zoom in on this guy. I don't know the name of this character, this miniature offhand. It was picked up through a Kickstarter from Zealot Miniatures. I got several of them. I've got some Conan-ish one, and one of the miniatures was modeled after, I believe it was kind of inspired by Elric. Then there's a wizard dude, and there's some others, some undead guys. I'll show you some of the ones that I already have painted. Some of them are across the room. I'm not going to run and get them right now, but I'll grab some of the ones I have here that aren't clear coated yet. They just lack their clear coats, and then they'll be done. So I'll show these off real quick. This is the guy I'm working on, and he's an awesome model. He's been a lot of fun. First up, I got these little rats. There's two little rats, and I put the skulls on there, and the skulls came from the same Kickstarter. They were like an extra bits that came with it. There's a couple of rats. Then there's this guy. He was a lot of fun. Kind of a, I don't know, let's see if I can get in a little closer. Let's not focus on the dust on the back here. Let's focus on this guy. Hope the color balance is okay because it's looking very kind of washed out in the monitor on the camera, but a lot of times the image I end up with in the video ends up being better than what I'm seeing on this little LCD screen here. I had fun with the colors on this. So the main part of his fabric here is purple, and then there's some pink there, kind of inspired by some 80s colors. Generally, when I'm trying to get inspired and I'm looking for colors for my miniatures, I actually look to the natural world, meaning I'll Google like animals. Lizards is kind of one of my favorite things to Google and look for images of when I'm just looking for color combination inspirations. Obviously, like with the rats, I just kind of looked up images of rats. Some fur creatures like this, images, and this actually goes for wolves too. They're very interesting because from a miniature painting standpoint, you know, you always want to go kind of from light to dark, right? Assuming a zenithal or a light coming from the top down type, you know, brightness to darkness. You know, your lighter colors or your highlights are always on top. But what's interesting about fur sometimes is in the animal kingdom, animals are not naturally colored that way. Oh, sorry, I thought he was on camera there. They're not naturally colored that way. It's part of their camouflage. A lot of times their darker fur will be on top and their lighter fur is on bottom. And so it makes painting and highlighting them just right and getting them to look somewhat realistic kind of fun and challenging. But anyways, with this guy, yeah, I just totally went with kind of some 80s style colors, purple and pink there. And I gave this a glow effect, and I really thought about trying to do kind of an OSL, but I'm still working on getting OSL down. I didn't want to screw up what I already had here because it looked pretty nice. I was pretty happy with it, so I may come back one day and throw an OSL on there because he's riding on this like cloud of magic and skeletons. So it's kind of emanating from his own hand, as you see there. There's that guy. And then here was this little goblin dude. Scale-wise, these are all like, you know, kind of 28, 30 millimeter scale. In which case, you know, goblins would typically be a little bit smaller. This guy's actually kind of human size. I don't really know what he is supposed to be, kind of a goblin. But he was a blast to paint. Rather than giving some typical kind of green or yellow-green skin tones, I just kind of went with kind of a Caucasian skin tone. Added some pink, you know, some flush around his face and his ears. I got a little skull there too, back on him. He was a blast to paint. All of these miniatures really are pretty cool. And then there's this guy. Pretty simple because he's mostly just in armor, so it was really just the horns, his fabric, and then his axe. And then where that red is, that would be kind of like some of the padded fabric that he'd be wearing under the metal armor, under the plate. And then there's this guy. I don't know what this guy is. He's got a tail, as you'll see in a minute. Not really an orc, not really a goblin. Some kind of beast with a tail. It was kind of fun too. on all of these models, I actually did the base color with an airbrush, with the exception of this dude. This guy, I just primed him, and then for the metal, yeah, I did airbrush. I airbrushed some Alclad paint that I have right here. I think it was steel, but it's one of their darker steels. I can't remember, and the label's kind of jacked there, so I'm not entirely certain what it was. But it's a good dark metal base color. And then I highlighted it with some of this waxy goodness here. And I did the same on his chainmail. So the base was this Alclad lacquer-based metal paint. Ran through my airbrush. Although in this guy's case, I just brushed it on. In the guy's case, I just brushed it on. And then for the highlight, I did this Rub and Buff. It's a wax metallic finish. And of course, this particular color is pewter. And even though it does go on like a wax, you kind of dry brush it really. You wouldn't paint it the same way you normally do with acrylic. It is more of kind of a, you just rub it on, which is, hence Rub and Buff. Hence Rub and Buff. Get him back here a little bit. So, yeah. So, just kind of buff it on there. And it dries fairly quickly. Like, I don't really know what it says. Once I put it on there, I usually leave it alone for, if not overnight, at least a good 20 or 30 minutes before I mess with it. But it does kind of dry. And then after that, man, you can paint over it, put washes on it, do whatever. It does just fine. Pretty cool metal effect. So there are those guys. Let me get these guys out of the way here so we can concentrate on the big demon looking dude with the wings. Yeah, baby. So his metal actually, while we're on the subject, was kind of done the same way, except I've worked on it a little bit more. So it was base with the Alclad, and then the buff, and then I put a black wash over it. His sword was actually done different. His sword was done with some, was it Army Painter? I think I used some Army Painter. It was kind of based in like gunmetal, and then I put kind of a black wash up here, and then I used a lighter steel color for the edge. And his whip was just some model color. His whip was just some model color, black gray. Black gray, if you can read that. It's 70.862. Now right now this base, which is made out of green stuff, and I just painted it white. I'm not going to leave it white. I'm actually going to make it dark, because if you notice on this guy, where it's kind of dark around his legs, and it's kind of lighter around his chest and his abdomen, and then lighter on his face. And of course his wings, there's actually some Caucasian type coloring there on the skin for the membranes. The fingers of the wings were actually just Model Air. Light Rust is actually, I think, the final highlight. I think Beastie Brown was the base. I mixed Beastie Brown was the base, which is some of his body, and then I mixed in the Light Rust in various strengths to kind of bring up the coloring and get it brighter. And he's had a couple of washes also. And those would have been the Army Painter washes. It was mild brown and strong tone. I did mild brown for the top part of him because I didn't want it to darken, but he has these cool cracks, and I wanted them to pop a little more, and so I got the wash into those cracks. And then on his lower body, to keep it kind of dark, I mixed in the strong tone. I think it was 50-50 strong tone and the mild brown or mid brown, whatever it's called. Oh, and the wings were given a wash in the flesh tone, actually. But the idea is with the darker colors, your eyes always kind of want to drift to the lighter colors. And so, hence trying to get the focus on this part of the miniature right there. I guess it helps if I point with just one finger. And then for the wings, the membranes that have the veins in them, to get the veins to pop a little bit, I took some Reaper well, I don't want to say clear purple. Surely it wasn't clear purple. No. Where is it? Ha! Knew I had some. No, that's beryllium blue. Well, don't get me lying to you. Maybe, I know it wasn't the purple. I used a blue and I just diluted it down with water and I think some glaze medium. Just made it real thin. Oh no, I didn't use Reaper on that. My bad. I don't know what I was thinking. Now that it just dawned on me, I used the Exile Blue and I thinned this down and made kind of a wash out of it and then just lightly applied it to his wings. I went with the Exile Blue because it was just the right shade of blue to kind of get that veiny look. And his tongue was done in a Caucasian flesh tone and then given a red wash to make it look kind of like a tongue. But I think for this video, I'm going to try to keep it fairly short. We're already at around 17 minutes. I'm probably just going to work on the base, just getting it dark. Originally I was going to go with kind of a purple, and that's why I was bringing it up, why I gave it a thin coat of white, because it still had the primer, and then the overspray, because the main browns I actually did with an airbrush, and of course that spray got down on the base. But I've since then decided, or realized I should say, that actually contradicts or fights what I was trying to do with getting the focus on him up here more. By making a light base, it's going to have you looking back and forth. So again, the base was made with epoxy putty and a green stuff. Well, it was green stuff was the epoxy putty I used, and then a green stuff roller. It was the Celtic one. So I'm going to go with a darker color, and honestly, I don't know exactly what dark. I don't want to go straight black. I really kind of want to keep it purple, but instead of a light purple, maybe just a really dark purple, which means most likely I'm going to get it as dark as I can and then just some subtle highlight in purple. Well, let's get the paints out and going. And that is my wife putting the children to bed in the background. Hashtag quarantine, but the kids are still on a schedule. Oh, I have a really nice microphone now too for doing overdubs, better than the mic that I was using. So in the future my audio will be really nice too. See if I can get it on camera real quick. Kapow! A really nice mic there, so all I'm really missing is just a really nice streaming camera. Unfortunately, that'll be a little bit because they're not cheap. And like I said, I've already spent money, what was it, a little over a year ago now on this camera and the other camera. Okay. I want him where you guys can see him while I paint on him. So let me see exactly where does the camera need to be. We need to have the black here to help with focus. That way the camera doesn't get confused on where it's supposed to be focusing. getting it figured out. Okay. Woo! Oh, yeah, that reminds me because I almost knocked him over. So, when I was in the middle of airbrushing, and I think it's actually on one of the live streams, which I'm not necessarily advising you go back and watch. They're still up at Twitch currently, but the quality of them isn't all that great. He actually fell off the table because I knocked him. It was my own damn fault. And the sword broke and I had to glue it on, and it really sucked because it was after I'd already primed him up. But fortunately, you cannot tell. I was able to get it glued on and get it set right. Hashtag super glue is awesome. I think I might have used a little bit of accelerant too on one side of it just to help. And, you know, speaking of, we're not speaking of, but, you know, they always say thin your paints. The coating on this was so thin that I'm going to have to go back and touch it up in a couple of spots where you can still see the base coat of his flesh tone poking through there. Alright. Let me see here. I hope you guys that are watching this are all staying safe out there, avoiding the coronavirus. Yeah, that what Mama said. So I have a wet palette here, and I still have some of the paint on it from this. So before we jump onto that base, I'm just going to go ahead and touch up. And that's actually lighter of what I need. That'll work. Alright, so now to get some color slapped onto that base. You know, actually, I might do that. Because I thought about washing the whip in purple to give it kind of a purple coating. I might just make the base that same color. It's not super dark. I want it super dark. Yeah, we're going with the black gray. Shook up here, shook up here, good. I'm gonna go ahead and add some glaze medium to it, just to thin it out. Probably some water too. Just to let you know, I am recording. Alright, there we go. I want it thin because I want those runes to pop later. I'll probably just give it a dry brush. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the base. Because again, I want the base to look nice, but it's not supposed to be where your eyes focus on. So I want it kind of dark. So yeah, I was going to live streaming to try to conserve some of my time. So I do get kind of busy as much as I really enjoy doing this, and I plan on doing it. You know, whether I have 6 viewers or 60 or whatever, I'm going to be doing it to share this with anybody I can. But I like the idea of the live streaming, because I just think from a time perspective it's a lot more convenient. Like this video, when I'm done filming it, not only do I then have to upload it to my PC, but then I have to upload it to YouTube. So I've kind of got to upload it twice, and I will run it through my editing software, even though I won't really be editing it, but just to convert the file and maybe level out the audio a little bit. I'm getting way too much paint on there, but that's just me being critical of my own work here. It's not really. It's just I could have not went back to the palette so much and just utilized the paint that's already in the brush. Seven-year-old that doesn't really want to go to bed. I don't know if the camera picked that up, but I'm willing to bet it did. Okay, well this is pretty wet, so it'll take a little bit to dry. And then when it does dry, I'll give it a dry brush. I'm not sure of what. So I'm probably going to go ahead and end this video here. I will make another video finishing that base and then doing some other touch-ups. Well, I said I was going to end it, but here I'm just mixing in some of that color that's already on my wet palette that I felt was a little too bright in with the darker color I just put, and kind of redoing some of that. Alright, I'm just going to stop there. And in another video, we'll probably do a little less chatting with you and just more, well, I'll still be chatting, but be less of a state of recording affairs and housekeeping and more just focusing on the miniature. Buck on, puppies.